Hello, how are you? Welcome to Tampa Talk with Mary. Welcome to the show that only airs once a month. Quick story. This isn't necessarily period related, I guess. Like, it's not necessarily a mishap. It's something I really learned about myself in the process of this period. So I've talked about it, I think, on the show. I've definitely talked about it to people I know in real life. But when I'm on my period, I get a heightened sense of smell. Super weird. I can't explain it. In college, I was able to smell someone. They have it's those candies that are the little sugar dips, where it's like a dip that's like a nuclear blue, and then you dip a little sugar stick in it. I smelled that, and I asked in the class who had one, and someone was like, I ate one yesterday. So it's a weird superpower. But obviously, with great power comes great responsibilities, and there's a lot of pros and cons. So this is yesterday at time of recording. I am walking in my hallway before I get into my apartment, and I pause for a second because this was, at the time, it was the last day of my period. So I'm really not bleeding anything at all. But I pause, and there's some sort of smell in the hallway, and my brain immediately went to, that's the smell of menstrual blood. It just immediately identified it, and it was so strong, and it wasn't coming from me. It was ahead of me, it smelled like that. And, I guess this is a nice way of saying it's out, but I know what my period blood, I know what it smells like. Okay. It's for health reasons. I'm sorry, just whatever. We're being non-judgmental, whatever. But speaking of period smells, Fab Little Bags was our guest on the last episode, and they have a fabulous product that actually completely eliminates that smell from my bathroom. So while you're here listening to this episode, if you'd love to get some Fab Little Bags on Amazon, if you are in the US, you absolutely can. If you are anywhere else, their website is where you're gonna go. So check them out there. Get yourself some Fab bags today. But yeah, I'm really, really excited for today's episode. I've told her I've wanted to do it for a while, but trying to find the right time to do it. And when we're all stuck at home, what a better time, than now. She is a lovely, lovely friend, and I have known her for a couple years. And I think that she's doing something really remarkable, and she is making a choice that a lot of people within my age range have a hard time grasping with, which is, what we're all having to do now in the pandemic is we're learning to pivot, and we're learning what other things in life make us happy, and, the thing that we thought would make us happy doesn't make us happy, So having that sense about ourselves and, committing to that choice, despite societal expectations or despite, friends' expectations or, your age expectations, that kind of thing. So I'm really, really excited for our guest, Viva Crouse, today on the podcast. Yeah, well, I guess let me just stop talking. We need to get into this interview. You're in for a treat.
Would you like to see real quick? You're being very good. Where are you? There you are.
What's up, girlfriend? Hi.
Yeah.
Look at your little pigtails. You little cutie.
Thank you.
You're like a little sweet potato. Hello.
That. Yep.
I'm not that, but we probably look a lot alike.
Yeah, you have a huge beard.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, okay. Now the weird thing of Tampon Talk is always bringing the third person into the room. So this is the listeners of, hello, give it, I know your name and I know what you do, but for each episode we always we do a slate of hello, I'm so and so. So if you would like, since we only have 40 free minutes on Zoom.
Oh gosh. Yeah, let's do it.
All right. I know you, but if you wanted to just kind of give us a brief introduction of who you are, you lovely lady.
Yes. So my name is Viva Crouse, and I'm 23. I don't know if that's like applicable, I guess.
Yeah,
I'm a young mom living in Austin, Texas with my family. I have an almost 16-month-old little girl and then a baby boy on the way. So we're very excited to be building our family. And right now I'm currently just a stay-at-home mom. But during the COVID pandemic craziness, I started a blog, which I've been very excited about, just to kind of give me something to do creatively, emotionally. And I've also been, little secret. Yeah. Ooh. I've been studying for my CPT, so my Certified Personal Trainer certificate, because eventually I would really like to continue to be a stay-at-home mom, but bring an income and do so working with only prenatal and postpartum women.
Very
so
cool.
Yeah, so training for pregnancy and then helping yourself recover afterwards. So when I say that I'm studying for that, it's a very loose term. I'm trying.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah. So that's me, a little bit about V.
Very cool. Very cool. I love that. Yeah, keep that little nugget until now. That's super cool. Now I want to send you a bunch of accounts that I really like.
Go for it. You can always do that. I love that.
Because there's a lot of these accounts where they're not, it's not quite what you're doing, but they're like they're doulas. But there's this big issue around the Black mother mortality rate. So there's a lot of African American women feeling empowered to, do what you're doing to help bring babies in that community into the world. So it's like,
I love that.
Very, very cool.
Yeah, send them my way. Whenever you think about them and you think about me, just be like, ooh, Viva.
Like, so cool. Well, speaking of pregnancy and periods and everything that we do, I do invite every guest to share a tampon terror story, a pad problem, a diva dilemma, but I don't even know when the last time you probably have had a period.
My last period was in April. I know because I chart with Marquette Method. Woo woo. I could give you the exact date, but I won't do that because TMI, I guess. Weird.
Wait, but this whole show.
That's true. This whole show is TMI. I love it. But yeah, so my last period was, I guess not April. We conceived in April, so it would have been, what's before April? March. March. Yeah. So end of March was my last period, and being without your period is kind of like the best thing ever, because then once you get your cycle back, you realize how much money you waste. Like if you're a pad or tampon user, you just realize how much freaking money you spend. It's so annoying. I was considering becoming a diva dilemma girl right before I got pregnant. Like I was doing research on the best ones, and then all of a sudden I got pregnant. So
it's like, after the next one.
Exactly. Maybe I'll become a diva dilemma girl. But my, I guess I've had a pad problem. I got my period when I was in 6th grade, and I was such a terrible little human to my mom that week. Just as we all are. I was like really on one. But so I went to a charter school, so we had like those little plaid skirts, and I didn't have a heavy flow at that point, and I learned how to use tampons right away. So I would keep liners for leaking. I was very paranoid about that. I still am. And it's not like that embarrassing, but like, you know how we wore those training bras? I don't know if girls have those anymore, but like they were just like the flat, almost like a cami, but like half.
Yeah. I think I actually still have one. I'm just like, it's a sports bra now.
Yeah, they're like little girl sports bras.
Yeah.
And so I would wear those under my collared shirts, and we had lockers in like one classroom, and we would switch classes. So I was always paranoid, like, what do I do if I have to change it? My locker's in the other room. So I would stuff liners I would stuff liners down that little cami bra thing, and it also kind of looked like an undershirt. And like the little always ones, they have like the purple. These have like the purple pretty backing with the always letters, and so they were sticking out of my shirt apparently. And this guy that liked me at the time, like came up to me. It was like during like a break or whatever, and he was like, "Hey, what is that?" And I looked down, and it's like my liners are sticking out. And I was like, "Oh, just like part of my undershirt. Like it always sticks up. So weird."
Great save.
Thank you. Yeah, but so it wasn't like a horrible thing, but the fact that I still vividly remember it means that it did something to me subconsciously. So.
I mean, and kudos to that boy you had a crush on. I mean, he could have been far worse.
Well, he liked me. I was just his friend. I friend zoned him early on. In 6th grade, little V was like, friend zone. But he was very kind about it.
Oh, that's
good
at least, but most middle school boys, like I said, they're terrible. So that's
yeah, I know. It was a lucky situation to have your fluttery pads sticking out of your baby sports bra.
I love that. No lie. I think I think I still do have, like, carried all the way through adulthood, the same training.
That's amazing. I definitely have had that with socks.
Yeah.
Which is weird because I own like 4 pairs of socks. I don't have many socks. It's an issue with me.
So you mentioned it earlier, but you have this blog that you started, and what I think is really, I mean, we've known each other for a couple of years now, but what I think is really beautiful that you do is not only on your blog but on all your social media is that you're in a unique position of being a mother in this world right now, and like, especially coming out of the millennial culture where like, that generation above doesn't, they don't want to have kids, they want to like, they're much older, is that this generation, I feel like that we both fall into that. There are people making family choices and skipping college and, making these bigger decisions, and like,
right.
What I think is beautiful that you do is you use social media in such a way where it's an honest portrayal. So I guess I wanted to just sort of dig a little bit into like what made you start your blog. You kind of touched on it a little bit, but how has the reception been?
Yeah, so I started a blog. It's called Live Vivaciously. It's named that because my name is Viva and it's spelled Viva. So when people call me Viva, I'm half Mexican, so I'm like, that totally makes sense. That's fine. And Viva means life, full of life. And like every single time you were in like theater camp, like acting camp, and they made you go around and say like Marvelous Mary, or, mine was always Vivacious Viva. And so I was like, that's great. So that's going to be the title of my blog. Yes. No, thank you. Thank you. Okay, good job. And so it's been on my heart to do a blog for a long time. I didn't know what it was going to be about, but I kind of hit like an early quarter life crisis early on in 2020 before the corona. And then, of course, the isolation just really skyrocketed that. With just, I don't really know what I want to do with my life right now. You and I met because we were both going to school in San Diego. We were both acting majors. And I always thought that's what I was going to do with my life. And when we lived in New York, I got pregnant right away. So I didn't really do any acting there. When we moved here to Austin, I did a few like background work things, and I was looking for auditions. And then like one day, Chase, my husband, like came up to me and was like, "Are you doing all right?" Like, I noticed you haven't been putting very much effort into this. You know, we have like savings for Lena if she needs to be in daycare or whatever. So like, what's going on? And I was just like, I don't love it right now. I just don't think it's what I want to be doing. And that was really shocking for me to kind of come out and say it out loud to myself, because I've been feeling it for a while, that I've been acting my whole life and I thought that was my main purpose. But like, becoming a young mom and raising a family has brought me so much more joy than it ever has. I was like, I really don't want to put pressure on myself to do something that just doesn't feel good right now.
Yeah.
And so that was really hard for me to accept, because I always thought like acting was who I was. It was like my identity. So I felt like I was battling myself for a really long time. And so I thought, well, I need something that's going to be creative. I've accepted this, so I need something. And so I decided to come up with this blog, pretty much just to write whatever the heck I want. And of course, it's mostly like mommy, faith-based, Catholic Christian blogger mom things, because that's just my life. But I wanted a space where I could just open myself up to whoever else needed to hear what I had to say. And so I started it mostly for me, because I was like, I don't really care if people listen. I'd be happy if my mom like read it as a weekly update, so I didn't have to call her all the time to tell her what was going on, you know? It's true. Yeah. But just the fact that I have gotten a bit of response from it, not a whole lot, but a bit, from people I went to high school with that I don't talk to at all and never did, just like random people in the universe, and messaging me and saying like, wow, I really connected that, or like, thanks so much for sharing about that. I felt the same way, and I felt like I had no one to talk to. That part of it really affirms my decision in starting it and talking freely about being a young mom and what that kind of looks like in our culture, and the support we get and the lack of support that we get, of course, like you mentioned. Yeah. Did I answer that?
and I think you're doing something that like is well, there's, you know, one, there isn't a large, you know, voice of people talking about it, so that's, you know, another challenge that you're running into. And then, you know, having to make a decision about something that you've, you know, held for years and years and years and years, and, you know, believed in, you know, this is my identity, and then having to make that change. And, you know, a lot of people don't do that. A lot of people will keep at something that doesn't make them happy.
Yeah.
And that's hard to, you know, you're doing something that's incredibly difficult.
Yeah, and I always tell myself, like, I don't think acting's over. Like, there's still a part of me that, like, I love it because it is part of who I am, I guess, but there's no passion, there's no drive. And if I have that passion and drive when I'm wild number 45 and way done having kids, then cool. Like, you know, there's no time limit on it.
Yeah.
And so being able to give myself that grace and say, I want to focus in the present moment, which is my life as a 23-year-old mom to almost 2 kids right now. And I would really like to just soak in these moments and not have to worry about auditions and filming stuff when she's running around screaming her little head off and doing it during scheduled nap times. Just, I don't love it enough to do that. And at least for now. And so, but yeah, and I wrote a blog about that too. Like being able to change like where you thought you were going in life, you know? Yeah. And it was a really hard thing for me to accept, and it's something I'm still working on, especially when I see like old friends like doing stuff in LA or going on auditions and landing roles. I'm like, dang it, I really could be doing that. Like, but at the same time, like being home with her has been like nothing I ever dreamed of, you know?
Yeah.
And so to kind of be a voice to other moms who feel like me, makes me feel good. It's nice.
And I think you're doing what acting is supposed to be about, which is elevating a voice that isn't, heard, or perspective that like isn't, well known, is that actors are taking on characters that are like, complicated and messy and, vulnerable and outcasted. And it's,
right.
I think you're leading your life in a way of, you're honoring everything you learned in acting, being empathetic.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like and that's especially hard when you're seeing stuff on social media about it. And, and I'm seeing the same stuff of like, people landing gigs and blah, 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 blah. But it's, a lot of people in Los Angeles aren't in it for what it's supposed to be about. And there's
right.
people who are in their, in their lives that never got any acting training at all, that understand, empathy and caring for other people. And they end up being, great actors. So it's something where, I think you're doing what you were trained to do in college, and why it feels like it's such a big part of your identity, in this way. Like,
yeah. And I feel like that's why this blog and even my social media, like whatever I post, kind of fills that creative void, because I know I'm still trying to connect with someone else.
Yeah.
I'm still being put in that position of putting myself out there, being vulnerable.
Yeah.
So that for someone else's sake, not for my own, but for someone else who needs a friend in the Ethernet. Is that a word? Ether world?
Yeah. 100%.
The universe.
And I think especially what we're not talking about is being a mom is one of the most hardest professions, and it's one that everyone has an opinion on, even
oh my
if
gosh.
they haven't been. And it's the same with acting, where like people think that they know everything about acting, but being a mom is the hardest thing to do. And being young and doing the impossible, like
and enjoying it too. I feel like people are like, well, don't you kind of regret, like, you're in your 20s right now? I'm like, yeah, I am. And babies are popping out of me, and I'm raising them, and they're freaking cute.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And even though they drive me absolutely wild sometimes, like this, I don't regret anything. Like, this is what I love doing right now.
Yeah, it's and your child is adorable. And the next one is that for listeners, let me explain. Viva and her husband Chase are ridiculously and obscenely beautiful. Like it's ridiculous. Like if you you'll compare it, like say me and Preston, right? Like we look like we met on opposite ends of a dumpster. You two are absolutely beautiful, and like your social media is all cute. It's the beautiful little family that's got these perfect skin. And they're living in Texas and they're doing their thing, and it's like perfect family. They're absolutely good. So on top of, being a good person and being a mom and being honest and being vulnerable, it's like you also get to be beautiful and all this stuff. And it's,
oh gosh.
Yeah, just wow.
You made me blush. I didn't even put any on today, and you made me blush.
She's not.
She's screaming. She agrees. She's like, yeah!
Mom's awesome! Yeah, it's because there was this is on your, so we talk about just your Instagram for a second too, because this is another part of the mommy culture that is where Instagram sometimes becomes toxic, where it's this mom that's like, oh my child never makes any messes and my child is perfect, and and it's like that's a whole fun part of it, but none of them are honest about any other parts of it and all this other stuff. And I don't know maybe necessarily where that comes from, but it's so needed of just people to be more honest on social media in general.
Yeah, and I think there's a fine balance too, because like if I'm being honest, Lena was an incredibly good baby, like really easy. Slept through the night at like just a few weeks. Still sleeps through the night unless she's teething,
Yeah.
Neither of my pregnancies have been like crazy symptoms. Like, yeah, I was sick for a little bit and I had like some round ligament pain, but besides that, like I didn't have anything crazy going on. And so like I've had really physically joyful pregnancies. And so I feel like if I posted that, which sometimes I do, it is the truth, but I think women just I think it's our responsibility then to say like, okay, back up. My whole thing with pregnancy and babies and kids is, your experience, no matter how much you think is going to be the same, is always going to be vastly different. Like there's no advice I could give anyone that is going to fit the way that their baby is going to come into this world.
Yeah.
It's just not. I'm like, and I've learned, maybe I just need to go into pregnancy and labor and delivery and postpartum life with zero expectations every time.
Yeah.
I think like the biggest thing for women is just to not have any expectations about how this part of your life is going to go. Because whether it goes swimmingly or it comes crashing down at some points, you're not expecting either one of those. It's never going to be what you're expecting. Yeah. So I think, I think mommy culture on Instagram is definitely becoming a bit more on that end, a bit more vulnerable, a bit more truthful about my kid's great. But 2 weeks ago, she woke up from a nap, pulled her diaper off, and was poop all over the bed. She's awesome, but that was not awesome. I did not. Chase comes home. He's like, "Did you have gloves to clean that up?" I was like, "No."
Oh my God.
You think I just like stashed gloves somewhere?
Yeah. Do you
pick that up? And so to be able to work that balance between here are the really joyful parts of being a young mom, and they're really good and beautiful, and then here are the really hard things, like birth is tough and bloody and gross.
Yeah. It was so funny. The last episode we did, which at time of recording has not come out yet, but will when this comes out. The company, the owner of the company talked about birth plans and how absolutely not a thing. Like you're
literally like, why have one?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what she said.
Someone asked me about that and I was like, well, I think you should definitely write down your non-negotiables, but that doesn't, you have to go in with the zero expectations still. Like you can write down your non-negotiables. Like I really do not want Pitocin or whatever it is. Yeah. That's fine. You can write those down so that the nurses are aware, because you're in a fog during all of it,
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, they're going to do what's best to get your baby out of you safely.
100%. Yeah.
God willing, So yeah, birth plans. I remember I was really pissed at Chase because he forgot mine when I gave birth in New York. He forgot it at the apartment. I was like, I had tape and I had it all printed out, and I was like, exactly how I wanted it to go, which more or less was do whatever you need to do to get her out safely. But I wanted them to be like aware of even that notion.
Yeah.
I had it all printed out, like pink and cute. And I was going to tape it up on the walls in the labor and delivery room. And I'm like sitting on the birthing ball with these contractions. I was like, where's the paper? He's like, I forgot it. I was like, how are they going to know what to do with me without my birth plan? I just don't know. But you came out all right, didn't you? You came splashing out. Yeah, you did. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. And I loved that you both have spoken to that, because I think that that's another part of the culture, at least that I've seen, where people are sometimes, maybe it's an older generation or what, are judgmental on, how your baby comes into the world. And it's like, it came out in it. They fine. Like, but everybody's got an opinion about how you need to do it, and what is really considered a birth or not, like that kind of whole
right.
Stuff.
Or even like if a woman posts like some like more like Instagram famous influencers that I follow, they like posted their birth plans and they got all this backlash from women being like, hot, good luck with that happening. Hot, good luck. That's not going to happen. And it's like, you guys asked for her to post it. She posted what her birth plan is. She's aware, we're aware that everything might not go as planned. You don't have to make women feel bad about wanting to be prepared either,
Yeah.
It's like bashing on all sides of the aisle. And I'm just like, dude, we're women making babies in our bodies and they're coming out of us one way or the other. Like, can we just support? Impossible.
And it's like, you know, we got women got the rest of the world to deal with, right? Like all the other things. So at the very least, like, you know, us together, you know, we gotta be on the same page because everybody else, you know, got world leaps and bounds of things to deal with. So like, you know, why is there this judgment between women to women on, you know, such a very, you know, thing that's been happening for centuries? Like,
yeah, that's literally so natural. Like birth itself is natural. Like I read something that was like, there's no real like difference between a natural birth and an unnatural birth. Like all birth it's a natural happening. So it's all natural.
Yeah.
I don't care how many drugs you take
Yeah,
to
like
get through it. It's still natural. It's still coming out of you.
No, it's my the other person who brought their child on the show, my old acting teacher, she's now pregnant with her third child, and before she had the first child she was like, I'm never gonna have any kids, and now she wants to have all of them. You know, and she was just like, I want to have them all the time. I love having children.
That was me. That like on your little prompting that you sent me, you know, like I think the question was like, what was one of the biggest joys or challenges looking back from who I was a few years ago and who I am now is like that. Absolutely. Like I went into college being like, people didn't date me in high school. Fine. I'm not going to date anyone. I'm not going to get married until I'm at least 27, and I'm going to live in LA with roommates and do the acting thing. And then everyone in high school and college that didn't date me is going to see that I'm an awesome, famous actress. Blah, blah, blah. Well, here we are, a like week into school, into my freshman year, and there he is. And coming on October 3rd. Yeah, October 3rd, Mean Girls Day. I know. They told me it was October 3rd. On October 3rd, it'll be 5 years, and I got one baby out, and I have another one on the way, and I'm 23, not 27. So, yeah, I mean, and that was just like a whole change of plans in my life that God was just like, actually, this is what's going to happen, and this is going to fulfill you and make you really, really joyful. And I think that, yeah, like I mentioned earlier, that was a hard thing for me to accept. It was the fact that like I never dreamt of this life.
Yeah.
And now it's like this life is my dream, and I felt like for so long that wasn't okay.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't like a standard dream. It wasn't my old dream. It wasn't acting, which for people makes sense. Like, oh, that's a dream, you know? Who dreams of having like a house with little ones running around and making yummy dinners and then throwing them away because they actually tasted like crap? Like, who dreams of that? That's me. You know? And so for so long, I felt like that wasn't an okay thing for me to have. And now it's like, this is my dream. I would rather go on yearly family camping vacations than go waste time doing a single audition. Like, I don't know, like it just, the whole world flipped for me, and I wasn't expecting it, but it's what happened, and it's been really good, you know? And so obviously the biggest joys in my life are my kids and being their mom and being, I always say, like, being a young, hip, cool mom.
Yes,
it's so fun.
You get to be embarrassing for your kids, and then hopefully they appreciate it later now. Like,
I know. I'm like, gosh, I'm going to be an embarrassing mom, and it's going to be so fun.
Yeah.
And I still feel like I'm 18. Like, I still feel like I'm really young, which, I mean, 23 is young, but you know what I mean.
No, I understand.
Like, I still feel like I'm fresh out of high school sometimes. Like, I didn't even go to college. And so I'm like, man, I'm going to be so embarrassing by the time Carlina is like 5. She's like, Mom, stop.
This little toddler, like, leave me alone.
Seriously.
My friends.
Or maybe she'll be like my BFF and like do embarrassing things with me. And we'll prank all her little siblings. I don't know.
Yeah. She'll end up being the favorite. No.
Exactly. I'll love that too.
Yeah. That's so and the feeling I walked on a college campus to like do some Amazon locker thing, as a college graduate, and I felt like I was the youngest person there. And I was like, honey, when does it go? I don't know if it goes away.
I wondered that today. And it's funny because like in our young adult groups at church or like moms groups, I'm always the youngest. Even in our young adult groups, it's like people are always 25 and older. People are like, oh, how old are you? I'm like, I'm definitely younger than you, I promise. And then when it comes to like mom groups, that's the tough thing, is finding other moms your age, like in the same stage in life as you, in person. Like, thank God for social media because I have those connections.
Yeah. But
to be able to find them like down the street is a whole other ordeal.
Yeah.
You know, because it's different being a mom with friends with a mom, someone your own age.
Yeah.
Than someone who's 43 or 35. And like, I love my friends that are 10 years older than me. They give me so much wisdom. Yes, they do, huh? They give us so much wisdom and wonderful, beautiful advice, you know, experiential knowledge. But there's something about someone going through the ringer with you at the same time.
Yeah.
That's like awesome.
Yeah.
So that's always a struggle too.
Because I feel like there's the parts of that where, you know, it's someone that's your age, you can talk about, you know, other things that maybe you'd feel uncomfortable talking about with like an older woman. Like, I don't know, like I don't feel like if there's someone who's 20 years older than me, I don't want to, you know, talk about sex. I don't want to talk about this.
Yeah,
you know?
like your sex life as a young married couple with a kid. Like, yeah, you're not going to talk about that. I mean, maybe you will. I probably would, depending on the person, but I'm an open book. But, sorry, Chase. But, you know, like it is different for maybe another 23, 24, 22-year-old mom going through the same thing, you know, those same struggles and intimacy that you're going to have in marriage when you've only been married for 2 years, but you have a kid and another one on the way. And pregnancy, some women get like a super high sex drive. Good for you. Waiting for it. Maybe number 3, maybe third time's the charm, because that would be dope. But other women, it's like you're uncomfortable and like your body's like bleh, and you have to like stuff pillows everywhere. You're just all over the place.
Yeah.
So it's different. Mm-hmm. And someone that's like already been through it, you know, it's good to listen to their advice, but it's nice to laugh and drink a margarita with someone your age and be like, oh my gosh, yeah. Issues, struggles.
Yeah, for sure. Which feminist and not be afraid of it or anything and all that. And like, you know, people in the religious community don't particularly like the word and all this stuff, but you know, what it's really supposed to be is empowering a woman to make a choice that she chooses, you know, and like you're making your own choice to say, you know, this is my life and this is how I'm going to live it. And, you know, you should be supported by other people who, you know, like say maybe that's not the life that they chose, but they're, you know, they're happy for you because you know, you're making your own choices and, you know, and you're living your own life. Like that's what feminism should be about. In my opinion, but you're, you know, so in my mind, you're feminist as the day is long. So what it do?
Sure freaking am. Are you kidding?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. One of the podcasts, another podcast I really love, this can be off air, it doesn't matter, but it's called The Catholic Feminist, and they go through all these different topics, and like a lot of times she really delves into what feminism is supposed to be and what it looks like now. And it's so very interesting because, we shouldn't be afraid, you know, in the religious community or out to call ourselves feminist, but it has so many different connotations now that you're like, you're feminist. Okay, but so what does that mean? Because it could mean X, Y, Z, LMNOP.
Yeah.
You know? But yeah, so I would definitely say that, I'm very feminist in my views on motherhood and allowing yourself to embrace something that the culture kind of tells you is, you know, maybe you should wait for or is going to be too difficult for you at this age. And it's like, gosh, if that's where you're at in life, run with it. And like, I just hope like through my blog and my social media that I can be an advocate for someone else, you know, to look and to say, oh, she's doing it and she's going through hard things, but she's obviously, you know, made a joyful decision and this brings her joy. And so maybe I can do that too, you know, to not be afraid of this awesome life we call young mommy.
Yeah.
That sounded weird.
No, it sounds
that we call young mommy.
Oh, well, I think that's a beautiful takeaway message. I don't know if you say any listener that, you know, we've variety of listeners, you know, someone who's either contemplating this choice or, you know, they really, really, you know, they want it or, you know, they don't know what to do. What's some, you know, put you on the spot. What's some advice you want to give them?
I think something we didn't, I guess my advice to just anyone would to be supportive and truly supportive.
Yeah.
I was the first one out of all my friends to have a kid, and it can feel very isolating whether you made that choice or not. Yeah. You know, whether that was your dream or not, either way, it can feel super isolating. So be supportive to those women around you who are even contemplating those choices. You know, you don't have to be in the same stage in life as someone to love them where they're at. And I think for anyone who seeks out motherhood at any age, in any way, shape, or form, deserves to have that unconditional support. So, and no unsolicited advice, people.
Yes.
Don't go touching my baby's head at Trader Joe's because you think I'm hurting her. Yeah, that happened once. She was throwing a crying fit, and I'm like an unprepared new mom. I'm sweating, and she's in the little cart seat.
Yeah.
And she's throwing her head back so it's hitting the little rail because I'm trying to fill up her formula bottle with Trader Joe's frozen chicken in the other hand, and I'm a mess. And this lady comes over and she cups the back of her head and is like, oh, honey, I think she's really hurting. And I was like, nah, bruh, she's hungry. Yeah. Watch me pour this formula. Sorry, my boobs don't work.
Yeah.
I was so mad. I was like, get your hand off my child, woman. So, yeah.
Karen, get your cabbage and leave, okay? Like,
exactly. Don't be that person. Just be supportive of your fellow mothers and the fellow women around you because you never know what women are going through, what they're doing to try and get pregnant. And yeah, just keep your comments to yourself. If you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all.
That's the rule.
That's the rule.
I love it. Very cool. Well, so we'll put them in the description of this episode. So, but if you want to like plug your blog or your Instagram or any sort of things real quick.
Yes. So my blog is, oh my gosh. Well, because the website domain name was taken as Live Vivaciously. That's the name of my blog, but it's Viva Vivaciously.
Gotcha. Okay.
So yeah, vivavivaciously.com. And then my Instagram handle is at Viva Maria with 3 A's at the end. So you can read those in the description below.
Very cool. Very cool. Very cool. Very cool.
And come visit me and we'll hang out on my blog and my Instagram together.
Oh, so cool. And we normally will I'll leave my email open for people that have any questions. If anybody has any thoughts about this episode and they email me, I'm sure it's fine, but would you be cool with me sending it your way and be like,
oh my gosh, I would love that. I love talking to people about all things birth, period, mama, marriage, sex, whatever. So just email away, my friends. I'll be here for you.
Yes. Removing stigmas left and right. I love it. What it do. Well, this has been so lovely. This will be the part where I'm like, oh, thank you so much for being on the show. You know, stick around. Well, you know, whatever. But
yeah.
Well, thank you for doing this.
Thanks for having me on. This was so fun. Lena just went, woo.
A young fan already.
She really is.
And that was Viva. What a cute lady. What a lovely lady. We love Viva. Make your own choices as a mama. If, that's your thing, do your thing. Be empowered. You can check out her blog, Live Vivaciously, in the description of this episode. Check her out there. Her Instagram that she mentioned, Viva Marie with 3 A's, also in the episode description. Dear friend of the show, we love Viva. And, while I'm here, I want to thank our artists that we've featured on our episode. We're featuring Harrison Kipner, who lives here in LA, lives in Highland Park. And this song that is in the episode is his track Naked, which is available on Soundcloud. But check out all of his other stuff. He does really great music. I have loved his SoundCloud. His Instagram is also in the link to this episode as well, so you can follow him there and get updates and such. Not only does he do great original music, he does great covers, particularly if you like Casey Musgraves. You got a lot to dig into with him for that. Also, Little Birdie told me that there might be some more music coming out really, really soon, so you should follow him and stay tuned for that. What is our takeaway? Our takeaway, I think, is, be who you, as, a woman, non-binary person, whoever, be who you want to be. And, follow your heart, and despite what people tell you you can and cannot be, do what you want to do. Simple enough. And know that it's okay to not always honor, the person who you thought you were, but always honor the person who you are. If this is the plan for your life and, suddenly that changes, embrace the change. That doesn't, we're multifaceted, and that doesn't mean you can't come back to that old version of who you were. Enjoy the now, because you are beautiful and loved in many different ways. But you know what to do. Check us out. Email us, tampatalkwithmary@gmail.com. Instagram us. Follow us, DM us, whatever you want to do. TamponTalkWMary on there. You can also follow that same handle on Twitter. You can also follow my own personal Twitter. You do Periods Talk. A lot of things on there, periods and, my thoughts and all that. But yeah, if you have any questions for Iva, email us. She's super open to it. Anyway. Hang in there. It's still really difficult and the world is really crazy, but I think that we've got each other, and that's all we've got really right now. That's guaranteed. So, love the ones that love you, fiercely, and keep on bleeding. It's gonna be okay, and we'll see you next time on Tampa Talk with Mary.
On, the love is gone.